Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz, Tribeca Trade Group, and this is a quick Friday midday video. Certainly we've had a bounce in some of the growth and momentum names this morning. I'm going to bring you through all of today's performance, what's moving, what's not, because there are some things that are just not participating at all today. And then a little bit of strategy. These are, I think, difficult days because we have a gap up today, and I think probably most traders are going to want to see some follow through from today. My thought is, if you kind of look, so first of all, while I have the 5 minute chart up right now of S&P. It looks like we're trying to rally here a little bit, but we're basically right where we opened. A little bit of back and forth movement. You could see we're up 1%, but we're right smack in the middle of the value area. So, it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war, I think, in the early going. So the best thing I like to do on something like this, where we're kind of set up here. Notice what we did yesterday. We tried to rally and we failed. We tried to go lower on big volume, and we bounced a little bit. So we're right now kind of at a decision point. And I think you just have to watch the range right now. You've got to watch the upper range. You can see I also have a trend line drawn here. So this is S&P futures right now. So I would watch 27.95, and then I would go back to maybe not the bottom of this candle, but probably the bottom of value, 27.50. Right, the value areas give us some good signals there, and that's basically it. I would not try to crystal ball this and try to figure out what's going to happen, and don't overplay this market. I could tell you right now what I've done for the day is I added some risk at the end of the day, nothing huge. I talked about that in last night's video. Some SPY calls, some Q calls. I had a little bit of the Chinese internet ETF on KWeb just for a bounce. I'm out of all that. I'm out of the KWeb ETF. I'm out of the Qs, and I'm sitting long some January SPYs, but no new trades for me. I think this bottoming process is going to take a little bit. I mean, I still have some trades that I'm underwater in, no doubt about it. So if the market happens to rally, I'll do I will do well, and I've been positioned that way. But right now in terms of adding new risk, I need to see a little bit of confirmation that that this bounce is going to hold. So let me move. I'll start moving to a little bit. That's the S&P, and I think important to look at. Next, I'll go to Qs, and then we'll talk about some sector ETFs to keep an eye on, and I'll go over a couple other things, including today's option activity. So Qs, you can see we've bouncing 2.4%. This one, it's going to paint a little bit of a different picture. If I could hit up the 5 minute chart. 5 minute chart, we are above value. So this is a little bit easier, right? So 172, again, this is just for these levels that I mentioned, same thing with the S&P, basically just for today, but 172.25. You can see we haven't really done much here either. Just like S&P, we're basically right where we opened. So, it's a case for kind of not over trading right now and just letting this kind of work its way out. One of the things that you can kind of think about too, if you think that we're going to hold, the VIX right now is a 21, the VXN is a 25. So you could definitely sell some premium here and there and collect money. I always go back to what we know and what we don't know. We definitely know that premium is more expensive than it was a week ago. So there's definitely some things to kind of think about there in terms of if you want to sell some premium, you just have to be aware of your risk, and you could do that on either side. You could do an iron condor too, if you think that we're going to trade in a range for a little bit. That probably would be the best, your best bet if you think that we're going to be range bound for a little bit. I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of giving, I'm not telling you that that's my direction that I'm going in, but we do know that premium is elevated here. So you have to watch that if you're trading options as well, because the options are much more expensive than they were, and you certainly with the move that we have been getting, to Today, obviously, we're kind of locked in that range for now, but you definitely, one of the things to think about is trading less a smaller size, considering that the market has been moving faster. IWM, now this is a little bit interesting. I would want to see IWM start to outperform SPYs. They're not right now, and they do look weak, right? We're actually below value. So this is not painting such a beautiful, rosy picture right now of a bounce, and part of that is financials. We had JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup report this morning, and you could see that the banking ETF, the regional banking ETF, which does not, I don't think it includes those. This is for smaller banks, is down 1.4%. So it tells me that something's still kind of not right here. If we go ahead and if we look at a daily chart, if you really want to be aggressive, which I'm not going to be, but we have taken out a version point of control. The RSI, which I talked about in yesterday's video, it's a 26 in KRE, but clearly this is not showing all signs of health right now. All right, so that's your worst performer of the day. The gold miners, which we saw gold rally pretty hard. Gold so far is base, and same thing with the gold miners, is kind of an inside day. I'm going to revisit these at the end of the day. And that's mainly how I'm kind of living right now. If I don't have a really high conviction view, which I don't right now, and that's okay to not have a really high conviction. I'm kind of in a wait and see mode. But you could see kind of an inside day in gold. Down 38 basis points after a massive move up. So I wouldn't count this move in gold over just because it's underperforming a little bit. You have to remember how strong these things were yesterday. So, I might actually be looking to add to my GDX trade at the end of the day. We'll see. It's got to hold here. If it starts to really trace more, I probably will stay away. So let me talk about some of the best performers in terms of sectors. That's KWeb. That's the China Internet ETF. This has been dogged. So this, like I talked about in last night's video, I think a lot of things set up for a bounce. You got the bounce, and that's basically all that I was looking for this Chinese Internet ETF. I don't want to own these necessarily. Keep in mind, there's nothing really resolved still with China and the U.S. They're agreeing to meet again. To me, that doesn't mean much. Do these two leaders, especially Trump, does he want to, sorry to talk politically, but does he really want to see the market crumble? Probably not, right? That's been what he's been advocating all along. So I don't think he's going to want to see this market crumble. He probably, if the market will continue to go down, he'll probably be, backed into a corner to make a trade deal. So we're not there yet with that, but I would kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But so far, I wouldn't really be playing things on other than for a bounce, like I did yesterday in the Chinese Internet ETF. Playing for a bounce is fine, for a bounce trade, not for an investment, because I'm not putting much faith in just the fact that they're going to meet sometime and that the two leaders are going to meet. So this worked out great for a bounce, and I'm out, and we'll go from there. So that's your best performer. Also, what I was looking at and started to realize is some of the individual names in the IBD 50. This is up 3%. It's actually coming in a little bit. So this is important to watch. This is your I shouldn't say big growth, but these are basically heavy growth names, right? So if you look at the performance, you've got ABMD, you've got Trade Desk. This is momentum, right? So let's see if it holds. If it starts to give it back, if the momentum names start to give it back, I would be a little bit concerned that this bounce is going to be very short-lived, or that it might actually start reversing and going the other way. So that's kind of why I've only taken exits so far today, and I'm not putting on any new trades. I would rather wait and see if these things can at least hang in there for the day rather than fall apart at the end of the day. So we'll see. Let me tell you about option activity. It's kind of what we saw a little bit yesterday. A lot of stuff being sold, a lot of stuff going on the bid side. There's still a lot of, I still see puts going up. There's a put in PayPal that went up. So I do see some people reestablishing some puts, but you have to remember right now, we have earnings season coming up in a week. So you could basically see almost every trade that goes up on the tape in terms of single names and say, oh, geez, they have earnings coming up next week. What does that mean? It's very, very noisy trying to analyze option flow when you've got earnings season, basically starting. And I always view the beginning of earnings season, even though the banks reported, kind of when Netflix reports. I mean, we saw a nice order in Netflix yesterday, but you just don't know if it's earnings positioning. So we're not really going to get too many clues, I think, from you know from the option activity because it's noisy with earnings coming up. So I think you kind of, unless you are really have high conviction, which I don't right now, I'm basically not going to overtrade and pay my broker, just pay my broker by trading too much. The other thing that I'm watching, just like the S&P, right, the VIX is staying in a tight range. The danger point for the VIX is if we break 2270. I may go ahead and reestablish some hedges, but I won't do that until the VIX breaks 2271. So I've got an alert set there, and I've got basically a bunch of alerts set. And given that the S&P is trading right in the middle of that value area, there's not much to really do until we kind of see what direction we want to go next. All right, so that's my feel for today. And that was my game plan for yesterday, right? Play for a bounce in the indices getting really oversold. The RSIs were for some of them were around a 15 to a 20, but now we kind of have to see a little bit. So I'm kind of letting this process a little bit, and we'll see how it goes into the weekend, and then not putting on too much risk for Monday. So, and that's fine. I don't have to figure this out all in one day. I would rather not make mistakes right now. So that's it for today's midday video. And and that's my major feel is that you don't have to try to figure this out all in one day. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you later.